Today's interview was brought to you by Mulliganbrothers.com, where you can now buy the hardest worker in the room t-shirts, which help support film and direct projects like this. You could also become a YouTube member with the join button down below. Let's jump into the interview.
We have a large portion of American audience. I mean, you know what YouTube's like, but if you was to tell them where you grew up, like, could you describe it as if you describe it to an American audience?
Hey, so I was born in London, East London to be exact. I was born in Hackney, East London. Grew up there, was there for 8 years. Moved to Tottenham, which is North London, North East, so not far, just down the road. And that's where I would say I developed into, real consciousness to know what's going on. I'd say those were key years for me maturing and developing. But yeah, not the best areas to grow up in, but I'm lucky I had a good household to be in. Both parents, mother, father, their younger sister as well, so a lot of structure in the household regardless of what's going on the road. But I wouldn't want to grow up anywhere else. Like, how I am is how I am because I grew up there. Like, I value it to the fullest and I would never change it, because having the structure at home and then outside having the reverse, it creates a balance. It's not too much of one thing. So I feel like that's contributed towards my character a massive amount.
I feel like you've touched on it there, but if you was to describe what your childhood was like just a little bit more of that.
So I'd say it was structured, it was regimented, and I didn't like it. I hated it. But as I've matured into an adult and look around at my peers, again, I wouldn't change it. At that time, I would have changed it. My dad's in the room right now and I'm being honest. He knows I'm being honest. I wasn't a fan of it. I wanted to just do what everyone was doing. If I could be out, I'd be out. If I want to ride my bike like everyone else. I want to just hang out in the summer holidays. My mom wouldn't let me do that. She wouldn't let me just be out in the summer just riding my bike around the block. She said, no, you're going to go to an adventure camp for 2 weeks. You're going to rock climb. You're going to do something. You're going to have something to do with your time. If I wasn't in the boxing gym, I wasn't in school. It's not about just having free time, because that's when you just go and start doing your own thing. So it was very structured. I know what time I'm going to bed. I know what time I'm going to get up. I know I should revise here. I know I should train here. And it's installed into me. As an adult living by myself now, I still don't just free roam and do anything I want to do. I've kept structure to my life, and I'm extremely grateful for it now, but hated it back in the day.
This one shocked me, doing a bit of the research for this, is 2 years old, getting into boxing. Yeah. So how does that happen? And also, I found
out some new stuff today, or stuff I've heard before, but been reminded. Punching a little kangaroo apparently in the house, putting socks on my hands. I know I've seen pictures of myself with socks on my hands. I've definitely seen pictures of me wearing WWF at the time wrestling belts, pretending that those were titles, like boxing belts as well. Had my little head guard on, gloves on, and yeah, I just remember being in the living room and just working with my dad. I remember being in the living room and we're just going to work and practicing way more than I know any other child that was practicing at that time. And that is what, again, has got me where I am today. Something that you look at as a kid, you can't see posh on us. So you're like, why are we doing this? I just want to play PlayStation. They're playing PlayStation. And then you realize now the stuff is so ingrained into me that we're ahead. We're ahead, and now it's just little nuances that are really going to take me through, but everything is already there because of that foundation that was built from the beginning.
So as you're describing that, you're talking about having your dad around. What was it like having a father figure who was involved in the boxing world?
I don't know where I would be today if he wasn't around, I'm telling you, because I feel like every son, even with the best mother in the world, you get to that age, you start pushing buttons. You start testing them a little bit. And if you haven't got that father figure, it doesn't have to be, so that's why it's a father figure. It doesn't have to necessarily be your father, but you need a father figure. For me, I'm fortunate it is actually my dad who was there consistently making sure I'm in line. Because there's a few times, I'll act up and my mum can't really hold it at that time. And then I know he's there and you just get that back up and you're like, okay, cool. I need to stay in line and stay on track to what I'm doing. It's ultra important. And especially growing up where I grew up, if you don't have it, you can tell the difference between the people who operate without and who has. And I'm very fortunate to be in a position where I got both my parents around big key figures in my life to keep me on that right track and path.
It was interesting actually today, like in the ring, like seeing that. So has your dad carried that energy over through today?
Listen, he's not changed. He's not changed really that much, but he also doesn't treat me like a kid. You see a lot of father and son boxing relationships. This like the father still sees them as the kid punching the kangaroo, or the kid that's just, you know, running around in the house. He understands I'm a man in my own right, but what's right is right and what's wrong is wrong. What needs to be done needs to be done. So that always remains. But how you communicate and get that across is the important thing. And that's how we don't have any conflict, because I know he's only telling me what's good for me and what's in my best interest. And he's not talking down to me. He's only telling me what will prevent me from being embarrassed under them lights. And me and him hate embarrassment. So if I'm not doing certain things and those little things lead to that big embarrassment, we will clamp down on it. He will clamp down on it. And I also clamp down on myself, which is I'd say a relatively new thing. I didn't really realize the scale of what I was doing for many years and what the consequences were of not ticking certain boxes. But maturing into an adult, gaining rationalization over what's happening, and living for yourself, this is for my life, you know, this is for my progress. Once I started to identify that, when he's clamping down, I'm like, go, yeah, do it, tell me again, hit me again, do it again. Yes, because I need to learn it. It's essential. And he's only telling me for me. And once you realize that it's not I'm having a go, it's I'm trying to help, you don't receive the information negatively.
I mean, I saw that in the ring, like the respect of when he's telling you're okay, you're receiving it. And it's funny, I played basketball and I saw there was a father and son relationship in my team, and it was the dad pushing the kid to do the basketball. Hated it. Every time his dad told him something, he hated it. So that leads me on to my next question, is there's that thing, you know, as your dad's into boxing, like some people perceive it probably like he's just doing it because his dad's forcing him, he's just doing it because his dad's making him do it. So how much of it grew into you loving the sport, and that was basically on your terms?
I'd say from 17, no, 18, 19, that's when I said, you know what, Viddal, if you're going to do this, you got to do it for yourself. Many years before that, it was my dad saying, no, you don't understand what you can get out of this. You don't understand what you can get out of it. He always said to me, you might not reach the top of the sport, but you can make a living from boxing. You'll be able to make a living from the sport. And we've seen in recent years that's happened. You know, I haven't reached world championship level. I haven't reached the level that most fighters have to reach to make a living. But boxing did make me a living, and really early. And I can't see it. I don't want to see it. I just want to play out. I want to just play Xbox. I'm trying to be online in the Xbox party, and that's what I'm trying to do. And then I think when I started working, doing my day job, working full time, people talking down to you, and I don't like that. You know, it's not my thing. Some people can be told what to do all the time. I'm not really into it. I need to kind of be my own boss. And when I realized the life I was living wasn't leading me towards being my own boss, I said, you know what, I need to get back into boxing properly, do it properly, and see it through. And that's when there's no force now. My dad doesn't force me to watch boxing. I ask him to send me clips. I say, send me something. You know, send me whatever you're watching, send it to me. I want to know. I want to be ahead of it. Opponents, future opponents, I wouldn't have a clue before who's even around my division. Now we might say names at the same time. I'll say, oh, who's this? I haven't heard of him. I'll go watch him myself. And it makes his job easier, and it makes me a better fighter.
Please consider heading over to Mulliganbrothers.com, where you can help support more projects like this in the future, or you become a YouTube member with a join button down below.